The parallels between military service and golf are undeniable. The camaraderie you find on the course and in the ranks is addictive. On the fairway or in the field, there's an unspoken bond among those who have served and those who golf. It's the kind of connection that transcends tee times and battle lines, bringing together folks from all walks of life with one common goal: to conquer the course. And maybe share a few war stories along the way. This is the High Speed Golf Podcast. Colin, really appreciate you being here. I think you mentioned that you're one of two that we know of Division I golfers that are also veterans. So, really exciting to be here in your company. Let's just dive into golf. How'd you get started into golf? What's your journey been like there?
So I originally played college baseball, actually. I played college baseball at the University of Dubuque. Played there for a little while. And then right around when COVID hit, I was going back home anyways to go to a different school. And both my parents are big golfers. My dad played on tour. He was a teaching professional for a long time. My parents actually got married at St. Andrews.
No way.
Yeah, they met working at TaylorMade together. So golf's always been around. I just never really played as a kid. So I got started playing into golf right before COVID hit, actually. But then obviously, as a lot of us, when quarantine came around, it was a great opportunity to come outside. All my buddies were baseball players, so it was an easy transition for all of us to go into golf. I kept that kind of competitive mindset that I'd always had from other sports, and really just did it every single day. Did everything I could to practice. Having a coach at home was really helpful. So I got pretty good pretty fast, and then eventually joined Air Force, went to basic training, and then during technical school training, so that's like our MOS school, I was on the night shift, and so my classes didn't start till 2 p.m. So I would wake up in the morning, I would get my kind of carry bag of clubs, so I'd put like 5 or 6 clubs in there. I would have a backpack full of about 100 golf balls that I'd buy from Academy. I would walk about 2.5 miles from the dorm rooms to this abandoned driving range where there used to be a golf course. They had this like 200-yard driving range with, knee-high native. And I would hit balls on this little area that I'd cut out for myself. And then I would go pick them up by hand, walk the 2.5 miles to the gym from there, go work out, go to the chow hall, and then I'd go back to the dorms and go to class. But during that time, I was doing that every single day. So I was just hitting balls after balls after balls. And when you have to pick up your own balls, your dispersion patterns get a lot tighter, a lot faster. Because all of a sudden, if you hit one wayward, you got to go pick that thing up. And so I think that really helped making me better. It was like the one thing I had to look forward to. I'd play, 72 holes on the weekends on the 2 days we were allowed off base. But, I'd be walking 3 miles off base to catch an Uber to the golf course. I got really lucky. There was a $50 a month membership at the local golf course in Wichita Falls, Texas. And just got my, in the club championship there, got my first taste of competitive golf, and just really was like my one thing I had to look forward to, and I just absolutely grinded at it. Same deal. I was deployed to the Middle East, and when I was in the Middle East, it was like the one thing I could do per day was hit I had these little foam golf balls that I would hit in the tent with a Top Golf 9-iron, which is basically like it was like a women's 9-iron. So, you had to be really tempoed to hit it well. Wiffle balls and that kind of stuff. And every now and then I hit like rocks off of turf, in full OCPs. And that's basically through all of that. After I came home from the Middle East, I played in a couple Veterans Golfer Tour events, and played pretty well in them. So I started playing in some more events. And from there, my coach found me. His brother was in the military. He's always been real supportive of the military. He said, "Hey, I'd love to have a guy, even just come on the team, maybe not play as much. Just, hey, I could use some kind of leadership. We got a lot of young guys here." So it came more to be like a leadership presence more than anything. And for me, I was thinking, I get free golf. What the hell do I care? Joined the team, moved out to Chicago. Currently play at Chicago State. I believe I'm the only active military member that is currently playing a Division I sport. Rumors there are other people around there, but from what I've heard, it's just me. There's a lot of veterans that actually play out there. There's some great ones with some other good social media present, like Jonathan, I believe it's Schusty is his last name. I interacted he's 45, former Army guy, very
Yeah.
good player. So, but yeah, it's been a great opportunity for me. It's a ton of fun. I mean, I'm 23. I'm not that much older than everybody, but I still get crap from all the guys that I'm grandpa. So
Yeah. Yeah. You're the old man on the team.
exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. So full disclosure, I fully expected you to be like, I grew up golfing, played competitive golf my whole life, joined the military. And then when I got out, I just got back into it. So that's actually really cool to hear that, you kind of pivoted and you obviously grew up around the game, but that's a cool story. I think, that gives hope to a lot of people that are, getting into golf as an adult and want to really, hone their skills in the game and get better. I don't know if I could go from where I am now to playing D1, but
I think in 2020 I played this like 6,400 yard golf course, which in Colorado is probably the equivalent of like 5,800 yard course. I played,
sure.
got like 98, and I think at the end of 2020 I shot like 73.
Wow.
And that was at like a 72, 7,300 yard course. So like and it wasn't just because I went out and played. I spent a lot of time on the range doing things of how my dad practiced when he played at Arizona State. So what Arizona State
Yeah.
they were doing when he was there, things of that nature. Really getting lessons from not just him but also other teaching professionals. Really put some time and work in to actually not just make it a hobby.
Right. Yeah. And that's what it takes, really deliberate practice. I don't know. Have you ever listened to the Chasing Scratch podcast?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So a couple of guys, I really enjoy it, would definitely recommend it. But it's a couple of guys who were, when they started, they were in their late 30s and wanted to hit scratch. And I think they started around 11 handicaps. And, they're 6 seasons in now, about to start season 7, and they're close. But I think it was really kind of a gut punch, how deliberate practice has to be to really do that.
And I think it goes beyond that as well. This is one thing I did in baseball a lot too, is I found all the little 1% things that can make me just a little bit better. So, for example, the big thing that makes me always feel better is I'm pretty religious with the strength training things. And so I've had my guys out at Motive Performance in Colorado. They're actually who I went with when I played baseball, but they've since pivoted. Grant is our guy over there. He's a big golf guy. He's TPI certified. And there's a lot of professional guys there. I'm like the worst golfer they have out there. It's a lot of pro guys, and then me. But that kind of stuff has been, I've been able to get more thoracic rotation, so now I can swing a little bit longer. Right? I've increased my ball speed so I can hit the ball further. I've increased my balance so I can be a little bit more stable in things. Like all those little things add up to 1% that eventually add up to strokes over time. Right? How much sleeping before tournaments, how I'm eating, all those kind of things are, just little things that add up to strokes in the end, which are, how you get to be playing some pretty decent golf.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's great insight. So I may ask you later in the interview, like, okay, what are the drills that you're doing? But I want to, stick with military a little bit too. So one, what motivated you to join the Air Force? How'd you end up there?
So I'm a commercial pilot and have been for, almost 4 years now. But when I was one of my best friends in the world, Austin, he was in the Colorado Air National Guard, and he was training to be his big ambition in life was to be a fighter pilot. And so I kind of watched him for a long time going through that progression. And it was always something I wanted to do. My grandfather was a fighter pilot for over 40 years between 4 different branches, and grew up in that aspect and always wanted to be a pilot. I just never thought being a military pilot was something that was all that obtainable since I didn't go to an academy. Quickly learned that wasn't the case. And so I grew up in the aerobatics world within aviation. So that's more your pulling G's, your more stunt plane flying. And a lot of people in that world are fighter pilots. And so they told me the best route to go become a fighter pilot was to finish your degree while also enlisting in the Air National Guard. And so I enlisted in the Air National Guard, thinking that it was going to be 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. And ended up not exactly being that. I think now I've spent almost 2 full years of active duty when you count all the days and things. But yeah, did all my training, then did a bunch of seasoning days, then deployed, and I just between all the time in between, ended up being a little bit more than that. But it's all been very formative time. But yeah, that's my end goal is the same as his. He's actually he got hired on to fly A-10s. He's finishing up fighter pilot training currently, but that's where I'm hoping to be in about the next year or so.
Nice. Yeah. So my dad went to the Naval Academy, wanted to be a pilot. Back then, though, there was no LASIK, and he didn't have the eyes for it. So he ended up working on subs. But I grew up around aviation too. He's got his private pilot's license, and I'm actually I'm enrolled right now in Sporty's aviation. I'm doing ground school. I'm working on the private pilot's license, and the dream there is my dad flies a Cessna 195, and yeah, it's. I'll have to show you pictures of it. It's pretty amazing, like fully restored. He went and found the manufacturer of the fabric that they used in the original 195. And sourced that and restored it like perfect. But but anyways, the goal would be to get something like that I can put my clubs in and just like travel on weekends.
So that's actually when I was doing all my aviation training. What I would tell my buddies is, "Hey man, I've got to go get this cross country time. Let's clubs in the back. You pay for the tee time. I'll fly us out to Nebraska and we'll go play, or Kansas or something. We'll go play some of the greatest golf courses in the world." So like, I've heard of Wild Horse Golf Course out in Gothamsburg, Nebraska. They have like a student deal. I played for $35 there. It's the greatest golf course I've ever played. I mean, it's phenomenal. So yeah, I did all that kind of stuff too. It's just as cool as you think it is.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I'm
flying into an airport and going to play golf with your clubs in the back. That part is just as cool as you think it is. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I'm getting chills thinking about that. Yeah, I'm motivated. So that's cool. Okay, so what about, has your military service, the time you've spent working towards that goal, has that impacted your golf game at all? Or do you see any parallels there?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things the military teaches you is that if you sleep 8 hours, you got 16 hours left in the day. All right. Yeah. If you work for another 8 hours, you got another 8 hours left. What are you really doing with those 8 hours? Right. You can go play 36 holes with that 8 hours. Do it properly, right? So it was a lot of I was working when I was in tech school. I started school at 2 p.m. right, and then I got out at somewhere around midnight. Okay, well I still had all morning to go do stuff, right? So I was grinding on the range for a couple hours. I was in the gym for a while, right? Even when last week I was in Colorado for military service. Okay, well I'd go do my military service, go work out, go hit the range, right? Like you're able to do so much more in a day than you give yourself credit for. And I think this applies to everything, not just golf. But again, you sleep for 8 hours, you go to work for 8 hours and give yourself maybe 30 minutes getting to work and 30 minutes getting back. All right, you got 7 hours left in the day. You got a lot of time. I think people don't look at it in that realm. Because I had to wake up, I had to do this, I had to do that. Like when you really look at the minutes of your day, you got a lot of time to do stuff. And I think when you really face that realization, you can become more of a, not motivated, but I'd almost say more committed and more dedicated into what you can do. Just if you put that discipline in, you can really achieve a lot, especially within the golf game. 15 minutes of putting in the basement is very obtainable in the 7 hours you have off a day to focus on yourself.
Yeah, I like that, and it's interesting too, like hearing your story about walking to that old abandoned range and clearing out a space for yourself and just hitting golf balls. That it kind of reminded me. So I've got a hitting net in my garage, but I got to get my cars out of the garage first and lay down my mat, and it's like it's really not that much work. And if I want to get better at golf, I got to do it, and so I've been working at that for a few months now, really since the season ended. I've really been hitting a lot in the garage, and it's unbelievable how quickly just dedicating time every day has really made an impact there. And that discipline, like you said, is a huge part of it. And really great parallels there between military and like you said, anything you want to do, but golf especially.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've talked a little bit about things you've done in your military career so far. What are the highlights? What are your favorite memories?
So I joined with one of my best friends in the world, Dan Wilmoth. We went through all of our pilot training together. We did the aerobatics together, and then we joined the same exact unit in the same exact shop. Because in the Air Guard, you can do that. So we went through training together. We deployed together. So we did all of our aviation training together. Then we did all of our military training together. And then we deployed together. So there was just a lot of good stuff between him and I. And then we had a mutual buddy from training in our unit as well, Jaden Guzman. So just a lot of things with that. Like everybody says in the military, but it's really the camaraderie you get with your with the guys in your unit are just that's unmatched. I mean, being deployed stunk. We were working 614s. And that's not typically what you think of with the Air Force. It's definitely not what I thought it was going to be when it was the Guard.
Sure.
But, it was, again, there's a lot of good people in my unit. And just little things like that have been extremely formative. Unfortunately, my buddy Dan passed away about a year and a half ago. And so as sad as that was when he passed, kind of seeing all the military community come around when that happened. I got to give the eulogy at his funeral, but kind of seeing how that was when he did pass was like, it very much showed how impactful the military community is because everyone kind of rallied around each other during that time. And even though that was a somber occasion, it showed really how cool the military really is.
Yeah, sorry to hear about Dan. That's hard, and that's something a lot of guys in the military deal with is losing buddies. However it happens, and never easy to do. But like you said, that's one of the things that sort of prompted me into wanting to create a community of veterans and golfers, and even non-veterans that just want to support the community because of that camaraderie. It sounds so cliche, but there's never, I can't think of a group of people that's just more willing to be there for complete strangers, than the veteran community, one veteran to another.
And I think that's one parallel with golf and the veteran community as well.
Yeah.
That if you go up to somebody and you're a golfer, you automatically have that bond. In the same way that if you're a veteran, you automatically have that bond. And it's something where, golf is cool because I can go out and play with my grandfather. I can go out and play with my dad, my mom, and myself all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And to kind of share that fraternity within sport is very nice. But that's why the Veteran Golf Association stuff is really nice, right? Because I'm going out and I'm playing with a guy that fought in Vietnam, a guy that fought in Desert Storm, myself who fought in we were doing most of our stuff with Operation Inherent Resolve, but also so I was an OIR guy. And then guys who fought in Afghanistan, right? Very experiences. We got Marines, Army guys, whomever, and then it's very cool the joining of those two fraternal societies is it's very special, and that's why I think it's very cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and honestly, I'm a small fish in a big pond right now, but just doing the best I can to highlight things like, VGA. I think that's amazing what they've got going on. Definitely see those same parallels though between golf and the military and the camaraderie and the community that can be built there. So excited to get even further into it. Okay, so we talked about highlights from military career. What are some of your highlights from golfing in your golf career so far?
Oh man, I got in second place in a tournament this year. Every now and then. Our coach will let us go play in some D2, D3 events, just to kind of tune you up, get you some extra playing events because he wants everybody to play as much as possible. And so I'm kind of like our 6-7 guy right now and 5 start. And so because I wasn't starting on every event, he threw me some other events, and so I got in 5th in one and 2nd in the other. But it was one of these days where it was just pouring down rain, gusting to 30. The course was sopping. It was miserable, and I shot a pretty good 71. And so I was one shot back of the guy who ended up winning it. That was a pretty cool one there. But I think the one that officially takes the cake for me is I played in a veterans golfer Association one, and it was the first time I'd really played in any kind of pressure. I think I shot like 42 on the front and came back and shooting like, I want to say 31 on the back, and
Holy smokes.
to end up winning the tournament. And so that kind of proved to me that, like, hey, I'm a pretty decent golfer. And from that, I was able to play under some pressure. I'm pretty sure I made like a 6 to 8 foot sliding putt on 18, or it maybe just felt like 6 to 8 feet to me on 18 to end up winning. But yeah, like that was really special to me because it really proved to myself that, like, hey, I can compete in this and I can operate under pressure, and just, I am made for more than just playing as a hobby.
Yeah, I like that. That's one of those two, going out. First of all, shooting a 42 on the front, that's like, that's a good day for me. So, yeah. But that's cool though, being able to, overcome that mentally and then the story about the rain too. We experienced that in the military all the time. I remember being at Fort Bragg out doing land nav, and it's pouring down rain, and we're out there all day long, and it just sucks. But those are some of my favorite memories from my military service. Is, again, it's a cliche, but they say embrace the suck, and you do. You just you fight through it, and it ends up being one of the more rewarding parts of your life.
And everything's better with your buddies by your side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So can you, I think one thing I definitely want to talk about is, can you describe a typical day of practice in a D1 golf program?
So it really depends on the program. Some programs are really regimented of everyone this day is going to do this specific drill, and we're going to do it that way. Our coach is really great about, hey, you're a Division I golfer. You got here, right? You're a good golfer. You know what you need to do to succeed. So we really don't have that many mandatory practices, which is really great for me as a guy who works full time and has military and does X, Y, and Z. That's great for me because I get to practice on my own time. Now we do have certain times in which we have to do things like workouts, and we have 2 practices a week that we got to be at. But
sure.
Like for me specifically, normally the first 15 minutes of my practice is just working on wedges. And so what I like to do is I got a 60, 55, 50, and a 46, and I'll take each of those and I'll do knee to knee, right? That's for my 60 degree. That's like a 25-yard shot. And then I'll do hip to hip for my 60 degree. That's like a 50-yard shot. Then I'll do shoulder to shoulder for my 60 degree. It's like a 75-yard shot. And then it's not full because I don't believe in full wedge shots, but more like just a little bit over the shoulder. I think Bryson would call it like his 1030 to 1030. And that's like my 100-yard shot with my 60. But doing that with each of my different wedges means that I have something I can commit to every single time I'm over the ball. Obviously, this changes with where you play, conditions, and all those kind of things. But I have a baseline number for those kind of things. So when it's a little bit colder outside, or a little bit hotter, or I have wind, or I'm playing on a different kind of grass, right? I have something to gauge off of all those numbers, because most of my scoring happens inside of 100 yards, or at least inside of 130. And so really dialing that down has been really crucial to me. Like in the past 6 months, I've really gotten down like my 50-yard shot. So that's like, again, my kind of like hip to hip. If I can hit that little hip to hip shot, I know it's going to bounce once about 5 yards short of the pin. It's going to hit another time about 5 yards up and stop right there. If I can commit to that shot, hitting it low, medium, and high, then perfect. I'm good to go, right? I can hit that. And, if it's a little bit colder outside, then I'll do it a little bit more firm. I get X, Y, and Z, right? So that's huge for me. So that's my first 15, 20 minutes of practice. I try to hit each of those shots with a regular one, a low ball, and a high ball. Because as well with that is sometimes the high ball is not working, so I know I'm going to have to at least play a medium one. Sometimes I've got all 3, so I can play all different shots. It's just working on that. From there, I'll go to whatever specific drills I'm doing with my coach. So currently right now, I'm trying to do a little bit more sequencing drills. So feeling pressure in my right foot, feeling pressure in my left foot. And so I'll do that for the next 15, 20 minutes of whatever I've been working on with my coach. After that 15, 20 minutes, I go into kind of some full swing stuff. What I like to do is I like to hit the 9 windows. So Tiger Woods a lot talks about hitting 9 windows. So I'm going to try to hit my high draw, high straight, high fade, medium draw, medium, medium fade. and then I'm going to try to hit my low draw, low straight, low fade. 90% of the time, I'm not going to be able to hit all those windows perfectly to where I want them to be. That's okay. I either, one, know what I need to work on, and then I'll go work on that, or two, I know what's working for me, and now I know what to take to the course. For example, right now, if I feel like I'm hitting a draw, I'm going to hit it straight. All right, that's cool. If I need to hit a straight shot, I go try to hit a draw. And then if I'm in a pressure situation, I know the ball when I try to hit it straight is going to fade. Easy enough. Aim down the left side of the fairway and just let it fade in the center, right? Kind of knowing those things so I can hit my shot is very important. I had a coach a while back teach me that drill because, and this is back when I didn't feel like I was really that good of a golfer. I was shooting, low 80s. And he's like, swing your swing. Your swing's fine, but just go try to hit the 9 windows. And if, you can't hit the 9 windows, find what straight is, right? Or find what you can repeat, because if you can repeat it, then just swing your swing, right? It gets into then you can get into decade golf things of, all right, just find your dispersion patterns, lay the dispersion pattern over the fairway, and you're good to go.
Right.
But so anyways, that's what the next portion of my practice looks like. Then I'll try to do some more pressured drives a lot. So either that be with a hybrid or like a 3-iron with 3-wood or driver. I really try to give myself narrow windows to try to hit the fairway. A lot of times I'll try to give myself punishments if I don't do that. So I'll do like 5-10 push-ups if I miss the fairway or something like that. And then I'm a big believer in randomized practice. So then sometimes I'll just go, I'll do random number generator 1 through 14, and just hit a shot to a pin to a target, and do it that way. But I think the big thing that happens in Division I golf that a lot of people don't realize is on the course practice is 90% of what you need to do, right? Go range to hit your 9 windows. When you figure out what your 9 windows are to go play, right? You need to have that randomized practice again. What's better randomized practice than going to play a course? And go play hard courses, or go play courses from the Reds. Go hit numbers you've not hit before, right? Go play courses you haven't played before. Go hit shots you're not normally used to. The more randomized you can do it, the better, because that's what's going to help you to get better when you feel more comfortable. The more you practice and play uncomfortable, the better you're going to do when you feel comfortable. It's either you have to your play more like your practice by calming yourself down, which is almost impossible, or you have to make your practice like your play, which is much more easy to do.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. Okay, one question I wanted to ask about that 9 windows drill you were talking about. Is that something that you do as you're warming up for a round as well? Or is that something that you just incorporate into your practice off the course and just leave there?
Both. So most people don't know this about lower level Division I, but we get about 15 range balls before a round.
Oh, holy cow.
So we've got, I don't know, in most tournaments, we're going to have 8 teams.
Yeah.
Have 5 to 8 guys. And we're a shotgun for 36.
Jeez.
And we're going to start the minute the sun comes up. So you've got about 30 minutes to warm up for about, I don't know, 80 to 100 guys. And everybody's teeing off at the same time. There's not enough range spots.
Yeah.
So if you get 15 balls warming up, you're lucky. So you have to find out, like, all right, what's really important here? And so for me, that's going to be 9 windows and then driving. If I can give myself a chance off the tee, then for me, I feel pretty good.
For sure.
But how do I give myself a chance off the tee? I have to know what shot I'm playing today. Because, again, I haven't been playing golf all that long. I'll wake up some days with a draw. I'll wake up some days with a fade. It just depends. So finding out what I have that morning when I wake up is the most important for me going into a tournament.
Man, that 15 shot thing sounds pretty familiar. A lot of times I'm rolling up to the course right before my tee time, and I get a couple practice swings there on the first tee box before I'm teeing off. So yeah, I might know what that feels like. All right, so I wanted to ask you about NIL, name, image, and likeness as well. Is that something that you've experienced much in your college career? What are your thoughts and takes on the NIL world right now?
I've had a little bit, just because some people are trying to really support the veteran community, and I've kind of had myself out there as a veteran. Not a ton, just because I'm not Sam Bennett, I'm not Nick Dunlap. However, NIL does get very complex when you start to talk about those guys like Sam Bennett and Nick Dunlap of how that
Hmm.
works with your amateur status and everything.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's great for guys to be able to profit on themselves because not everybody is in a spot like me where I can go, have another full-time job, right? It's very hard to have a full-time job, go to school, and play a Division I sport at a high level. So I'm glad that people will get the opportunity to profit off themselves. But it's obviously finding where that line of keeping your amateur status and also making money is that gets very finicky.
Yeah, for sure. So does Chicago State give you good resources on sort of how to navigate the NIL world, how to toe that line between, NIL money and compromising your amateur status, or are you kind of on your own there?
A little bit on your own. So the state of Illinois, the university can't help you get any NIL deals. You are very much on your own on getting them. As far as actually seeing who's okay and who isn't as an NIL deal, Tom at our school is fantastic with all that kind of stuff. So that's been used. He's like one of the most approachable guys in athletics. So that's very nice.
Nice.
But as far as like certain states, I know like Illinois where they can't help you out, and you have states like you go to Texas, they're going to find you the NIL money because they want you to stay there, and so it's just
Yeah.
that aspect of things is just kind of tough because how is Illinois basketball supposed to compete with Kentucky basketball when Kentucky basketball guys are getting paid and the Illinois basketball guys got to go get find ways to get paid themselves, and Kentucky more or less falling in their lap.
Okay, walk us through your golf bag. What clubs are you hitting? What balls are you hitting? What other stuff do you keep in your bag at all times?
So I'm spoiled. I just went to TPI out in San Diego the other. So I got the full tour fitting the other day from Titleist. So we're pretty lucky at Chicago State. We have a good deal with Titleist. We get heavy discount on clubs because we are a predominantly black institution. So we compete in a lot of the HBCU and PBI events. And we'll be on the Golf Channel first week of May playing in the PGA Works down at
Awesome.
TBC Sawgrass. And so we get a lot of sponsorships through that. United, big one that helps us out.
Yep.
And so right now I'm rocking with the SM9 wedges for the 60, 55, 50, 46. I've got the T100 irons for 9 through 6, T150 in the 5 iron. I've got Cobra King Utility for my 4 iron, which is probably one of the favorite clubs in the bag. Got a TaylorMade Sim 2 iron or a Nike Covert Tour Red hybrid that I use. So I've got like the OG Tiger Woods Red.
Oh yeah.
Hybrid, and then like a 19 degree that I think it's 17 that I use. Use either that or the 2 iron depending on how firm the course is, or depending on how thick the rough is. And then got the TSR2 3-wood and TSR3 driver. I think I got the driver in a 6-degree loft, and then I've got the 3-wood in like a 16.
Okay, and then what about stuff that you have in your bag at all times? I guess first of all, let's start with what ball are you hitting, and then what are your other essentials in the bag that you just have to have at all times?
Oh, the balls has been a fun one. So let's see. Last year I got fit for the Pro V1X because I do think ball fitting is very important. I think that's one thing that not a lot of people think about. They just find balls in the woods and they're like, this is good enough. I got fit for the Pro V1X. I got hurt in the spring, came back, and I got fit into the AVX, which are the 2 most opposite golf balls possible.
Yeah.
And so the AVX, low flight, low spin, because I hit the ball really high with a lot of spin.
Sure.
And so I've since dialed in the swing a little bit better, so I'm playing the Pro V now. But definitely not the Pro V1X because I put way too much spin on the ball. So if you're a guy who's out there trying to go catch a lot of distance, so you think the Pro V1X is for you, but you're hitting the ball sideways, I would recommend maybe an AVX because the ball you mishit it is just going to die and stop, but it'll probably die and stop in the fairway. So little things like that. I like a little softer feel too, so the Pro V is pretty nice for me. But as far as in the bag that I always have, I use one of my challenge coins from Weapons, which is my shop in Buckley as my ball marker. I also have an F16 ball marker from Sea and Air Golf Course in Coronado Island.
Oh, nice.
Mostly because I'm a big F16 fan. I'm a maintainer on the F16. And I thought it was really funny that a Navy base had Air Force airplanes as their ball markers. So I got one of those. But other than that, in the bag at all times, I probably have like the heaviest bag of all time because I always keep cold, wet weather stuff on me. Because I don't want to go to the course and forget it if it is wet or cold. So I just always keep it on me, which is probably a bad idea. But yeah, that's probably what's in the bag for the most part.
Yeah, that makes sense, and not at all surprising to hear that a military guy is the one who has the heaviest bag, and is prepared with the cold weather and the wet weather gear. You've probably been on a few ruck marches, and so you're probably used to carrying a little bit of extra weight. So not surprising at all.
Exactly. That extra 5 pounds isn't that bad when you think about freezing your butt off if you forget it.
Yeah, right on. Okay, what's your go-to snack at the turn?
Oh, a go-to snack at the turn, by far Uncrustables. That's I bet 90% of college golfers would tell you the exact same thing. For college golf tournaments, we're walking 36 holes the first day of the tournament, and so coach comes around with the cart, and it's just like, hey, grab your snacks and go. I'm grabbing a fistful of Uncrustables and stuffing it in the bag for later.
Oh yeah,
that's really my big one is the Uncrustables.
I've actually heard that from a lot of the pros. They might have even talked about that on that Netflix show, Full Swing. That Uncrustables are a go-to for those top guys. So not surprising to hear that.
Absolutely.
All right, a couple more questions for you here, Colin. First one is, who's your favorite pro golfer, and is there anyone that you try to mimic your game after, or take a lot of inspiration from as far as swing or gameplay goes?
Oh, that had to be like Jordan Spieth, but I think every golfer that hits the ball all over the place, Jordan Spieth. But Jordan Spieth went to my sister high school, so that's another one too. He went to Dallas Regis Jesuit. So I had a couple teachers that actually taught him. So Jordan Spieth's always been, been a big fan of his. My dad played golf at Arizona State, so I've always been a big Phil Mickelson guy. I've met him a couple times.
Nice.
But Tiger, like every other person who's grown up in golf this age.
For sure.
Guys I look forward to watching too now, like big Max Homa fan.
Yeah.
I like Rory a lot because I think of any guy who's that size and hits the ball that far is probably a swing we need to watch. Because a guy like Ludwig, who's 6'5", 6'6", and hits the ball that far, that's far less impressive to me than the guy who's 5'9" and hits the ball that far.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Jordan Spieth for sure is probably who I emulate the best, is the punch out artist of how to get making up and down some random places. Who I'd say my spirit animal is.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to channel a little bit more Jordan Spieth in my game, for sure. All right, last question. One thing I want to do as I do interviews, I've got a couple of these lined up, is I want to ask everyone the same question. And so I'm going to ask you to put your bias aside just for a minute as an Air Force guy. If there were a Ryder Cup style match between Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines, who's taking the trophy?
Oh, okay. And this Air Force bias aside, it has to be the Air Force. I probably think it's going to be a pretty common answer to that, because when you think of the Air Force, what are you thinking of? It's a bunch of colonels out playing golf when it should be working. So, I mean, also look at, who's got the best military golf courses. It's Air Force through and through.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eisenhower down at the Air Force Academy. That's probably going to be the Air Force. However, I will say the Army is always very well represented when it comes to veteran golfer tour events.
Okay, sweet. And yeah, I think you're right. That's probably going to be a pretty common answer. I told you my dad went to the Naval Academy. He was a Navy guy. And he said every time they'd see someone in the Air Force, they would just yell 4 at them. And that was kind of their dig. Okay, so that made me think of one more question, actually. So I'm going to the Waste Management Open this weekend in Phoenix. I'm driving from Utah down there. So on my way down, I'm going to stop at Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas. I'm going to play the golf course they have on there. That's something I want to do is, go play more of these military courses, military-based courses. And so, have you had the opportunity to play at a lot of military courses? And if so, what are your favorites? What does your list look like?
I've played a ton on military bases because I think that is one of the greatest things for military golfers to go do is you can go play for like $15 at some of the world's best golf courses. Eisenhower's, they hosted the U.S. Girls Junior Amateur there last year, which, I think the year before was held at like some really nice country club somewhere on the East Coast. I forget where it's going to be held this next year, but again, it's like very high esteemed course. I've played a bunch of the courses down in San Diego. Sea and Air is pretty well known. It's got a bunch of holes on the water. Admiral Baker's another fantastic one. Eglin down in Florida has got a bunch of nice courses there. So yeah, I've played all over. Fort Carson in Colorado's got another nice one there. But I think that's a big thing for military folk. Even if you don't, play a whole lot of golf, the course is normally pretty wide open for tee times. It's like $25 to play. You're not going to get that anywhere else. You use your military benefits to your benefit.
Yeah, so hopefully this high speed golf thing becomes big enough that I can start traveling around and hitting up all the military based courses and doing some reviews and some content on the course there. So, that's a great list for me to start with. Appreciate that. Yeah, well, I appreciate you, Colin, for making the time. Let's keep in touch. And if I ever put together a Ryder Cup style tournament between all the branches, we'll sign you up for Team Air Force.
You tell me where to be and I'm there.
All right, Colin, we'll have a good one. We'll be in touch. See ya.
Thank you. You as well. Good to talk to you.